All right, guys, before we get into today's episode, I need to make an announcement that all of your 1000 SP Roots t-shirt orders have now been sent out. I've finally chiseled through all of those orders, packaged and shipped them. Thank you guys so much for all of your support there. And after many of you have hit me up asking if we were gonna do this shirt in a hoodie, I've decided to do just that. So for 1 week through next Sunday, November 30th, we're gonna do a pre-order on the 1000 SP Roots shirt in a hoodie. We're gonna print them on premium pullover hoodie sweatshirts. I too wanted a hoodie in this design, so I'm so glad that many of you were interested in doing just that. Also, the first 50 of you who pre-order this hoodie will receive a free 11x17 poster that we gave out at SEMA in the Rova Motor Oil booth, as well as a few other goodies in a merch pack that I'm gonna make right here myself in the shop. So head to ludwigsgarage.com right now to order yours now through Sunday, November 30th. Let's get into today's episode. All right, guys, we just met back up with Nathan from Sterling Auto Transport. The 1000 SP is back in New Hampshire, safe and sound from Las Vegas. Still hard to believe this thing was out at SEMA. I can't even believe it. I was just telling Nathan and my dad that there's been a full week that I haven't had the car, and it's made me think about Richard Rawlings' offer a little bit more, because I haven't really missed the car for the week that it's been gone. Made me think a little bit more about the money being in the bank account. But now that we're home, or now that it's home rather, I'm pretty stoked to have this car. I just still mind blown and buzzing from this past week, this thing being at SEMA. It's crazy driving this.
So what do you think?
We know that something's going on with the motor. We're gonna figure that part out. But the fact that this thing drove onto and off of the trailers is a huge win.
Yeah.
We're over here at my dad's shop today, securing some parts off of some of my junk. Every time I pull in over here at my dad's shop, I forget I own the 4-door late model Corvair. I really do, and I don't want to forget about this car. Texas car, as solid as the day it was built. It was in an accident, so it's had a paint job. I think it's had some panels done up front. So this, it was white originally, but it's had a paint job. That's why all the paint's kind of fallen off. But man, is this thing solid. Motor's locked up in it, as you guys may remember from an episode back, I don't know, a year and a half ago or so, unfortunately. But I've always wanted a 4-door late model Corvair. This one's a 3-speed manual. It's a dual bench seat car, which in my opinion is just so cool. Just another project added to the list. So in today's episode, we are acquiring parts off of one of my cars out here. And if you've been watching the channel lately, it won't surprise you that we are here to pull some parts off of my second DKW Auto Union Jr. The one that we pulled out of the woods that basically was completely roached out. I mean, it is completely roached out. This thing sat in the woods for many, many years. It got hit in the side and the back, in the door. I'd imagine this was the accident that took it off the road originally. Looks like it was hit driver's side rear quarter shot. But if you remember in the last episode, we talked about the good DKW Jr., the one that sat inside the barn on the property for 63 years. We need a good panel, and that is the driver's side front fender. And I'm imagining that that's why this car was left on the property with the other one in the barn, was because this one, although completely roached out otherwise, had a good driver's side front fender, or better, not in an accident, good grill, and a better bumperette on this side. I do believe they split underneath these bumpers. These are technically the bumperettes, but this is technically in better shape than the one on the good car, and so is the grill, as you can see. It's got a little doing here, but I think we're gonna try to save this grill as well. Now, we did a little bit of a poll in the last episode that you saw the Junior in, as to whether or not we should move forward with trying to straighten the driver's side front fender that's on that Junior, since that paint aged with the rest of the car, so it would look the best on the car, but it is quite crumpled and mangled. Or pull this one and buff it out. I think what we're going to do is we're going to pull this anyway, because winter's coming and it's a decent day today. So we're going to pull this fender, we're going to pull the grill, we're going to pull that bumperette, and I'm just going to at least bring them back to the shop. We need this headlight bezel because we're missing the driver's side one on the good car. And luckily, the ones that are on the good 750 on the Junior have these same Hella headlight surround trim rings. And that's exactly what's on this. And you know, I do really like the nature that has decided to grow on this fender. So I think I'm gonna wait to buff the paint out on this. We're gonna get it pulled anyway, but this would be such a cool wall piece with all of the moss left on it, and just leave it. It is a little rusty down here. You know, the one on the car doesn't have any of this rust because it sat inside for its entire life. You know, so if I were to guess, you know, we might just save this as wall art and do our best on the 750 fender. This is one final reminder real quick. We're gonna part this thing out before we put the whole thing in a dumpster, because we're only gonna use the Oshkosh chassis and the 12 valve Cummins in the back and the Allison transmission for the flexible bus. So before we literally crush this thing up with the excavator and put it in a roll-off dumpster, please message me. My email is in the description below. If you need like windshields, like the windshield in this thing is good. And some bits inside. It's got a lot of water damage inside, but if you need anything off of a 92 or 93 bounder, please let me know, because we're gonna literally put this thing in a dumpster. And I've put it out online that we're gonna try to part this thing out, and no one seems interested, which is fine. I bought it for the chassis underneath and the Cummins and Allison in the back. That being said, let's get to work on this little guy. I'll probably need to go get a hood prop. Hood prop is accounted for. Oh, that's great. Let's grab this hood prop. It's crazy. So the 3-cylinder 2-stroke got robbed for something at some point. Still has the transmission, which is pretty cool. These transmissions are pretty crazy. Because it's a 2-stroke, you're only giving the motor oil when you're giving the motor fuel, right? When you're under throttle. But if you're decelling down a hill, you're off the throttle, but you're up in the revs, right? Unless you put it in neutral. Well, these transmissions were designed, as many other 2-stroke cars were, to freewheel in, I believe, 3rd and 4th gear. I know some of the Trabants only freewheel in 4th gear. I think this was 3rd and 4th. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it's designed to freewheel when going downhill in some of the upper gears, so you don't burn the motor out, which is kind of ingenious, since you're only giving it oil when you're giving it throttle. So when you're not giving it throttle, you're starving it of oil. The fender bolts on this car are Phillips, and rather than fight to the bitter end trying to get all these out, I think we're gonna just cut the heads off of all of them and pull this fender off. And we'll try to save the ones on the good car. We'll pull that wheel off so we can get in that wheel well better. I think it's blocked up enough. All right, so I came all this way and forgot a tripod, as if this was the first time I've ever done anything like this. So from here on out, any static shots, you guys are sitting on that pail right there. So that is my bad. Okay. Now off camera, I've had a really hard time getting a couple of these lug bolts freed up. We fought with the other ones really hard on this car when we went to get it. And I guess we never touched this wheel because I've only been able to free up 2 of these. Fantastic. Oh, she's coming off. Where do you guys see the hub on these cars? If you don't remember the episode when we went to get these 2 DKWs, the hubs on these cars are crazy because they're front wheel drive with inboard front drum brakes. So the hubs aren't even round. Oh, goodness. Yeah, check that out. It's square. It's square. Look at this. How crazy is that? It's the only car I've ever worked on or ever seen that has a square hub. And insanity in here. Look at the knuckle with like the tie rod mount that goes way up to meet the steering rack, the tie rod itself. Insane. And they're a torsion suspension. So we have a shock here, but then there's a torsion bar that goes back. So the torsion bar comes through the lower control arm, up the frame, which is rotting out pretty badly. Yeah, so it's got like an upper and lower A-arm with a torsion suspension, with a shock, a square hub, an axle, because it's front wheel drive, and as you guys may have already seen, inboard front drum brakes. What a complete disaster. And if any of you guys have ever worked on early Audis, which is what Auto Union became, you'll remember that a lot of the early C1 100s and other Audis were inboard front brakes with the longitude 4-cylinder front wheel drive cars. This is where Volkswagen got all that tooling and ideas. All right, well, we got a little bit more room now. Hopefully get in there. There's some bolts up in the inside there. All right, there's some 10 millimeter hex bolts on the inside here. They're gonna be hard to get to cut off. So we're gonna put a 10 mil socket on them first. I don't expect anything to work out. Hopefully we just break them right off if they don't back out. We'll go by hand first and see if they give us any movement. And then we'll try to break them off if nothing else works. Well, well, no way. The first one's out. Well, that is better than I expected. How about number 2? This car sat outside forever. Oh, this is incredible. Okay, don't get too excited now. Wow, who would have thought? An unexpected surprise. Look at that. Look at that. Now, obviously, they're just threaded into the metal hole, so it's easier to pull those things out than it would be to get it to come out of a nut, like a welded nut on the back side of it, or a nut itself. Wow, that one too. That's incredible. We've got one more from inside here. And then one from the door jamb, it looks like. We got to open the door. Never say last one or last try. You know, I had a career in freestyle BMX, and when you're going for your last attempt or your last run at the skate park for the day, never say last try, last run. Just say I'm going to do one more. Or another try. Because you always end up jinxing yourself, and that's when you end up getting hurt. Ooh, we got it. We got it. Incredible. Wow. Insane. It's incredible. Oh, we've got movement. Oh, we have movement too. It hasn't like rotted together. So, oh, that one's a Phillips, of course. Why would that be a Phillips? And why would this trim be shut in the door? Let's go get a big Phillips screwdriver. All right, the inner bolts down the jamb are out. And now we've got one right there. We can't likely cut that off, hiding in there. So what are the chances this is gonna turn? About as good as I thought it was going to. Boy. All right, so I've connected 3 of my father's shop hoses to make it out here, to be able to use like just a small pneumatic angle grinder to get in underneath those bolt heads. Also, this trim piece, you'll see the seal right here, right? That goes up and around the front trim piece and down here. There's a little Phillips screw there that we'll probably drill out because obviously there's nothing left of that. And then inside the hood, when the hood shuts, there's one right there. And then this trim piece looks like it should pull off and actually away from the headlight trim as well. That thing just pulls right off. And then the fender should be good to go once we get those cut.
Heating it up might help.
Yeah, you might be able to get it now. There's nothing, it's just the thickness of the metal that's stuck in now. Now I'm sure there's some hidden bolts somewhere.
That one's shot. Yeah. Yeah, perfect. Does it pop? It might. Yeah, it might. Some of them had clips that they move and tap down on. Or pull up. There you go.
Yeah, it's got a little nook.
Yeah.
See the little hole right there?
Yeah.
Oh, and we got some more Phillips.
Oh, for the fender. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Boy,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
they could have welded it on.
I know. Oh, where'd the little seal go? Oh, there it is. I'm wondering if we just leave this fender as is, guys, with the moss on it. We just hang it on the wall. I think that's probably the best thing for it. Look at how cool that is.
Too bad it still have the mirror on it.
It's a crazy looking car without the fender on it. There's literally nothing to it. It's a frame car, so I mean, it makes sense. Since it sits on a frame.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, what's left of it. Yeah, look at that. The body mount here is all rotted out, and the frame behind it. This here is a part of the whole front end. You know, this is all one piece.
That was a wild looking die they stamped that with.
I know. There it is. Wow. Yep. Yep. There she goes. And we have yet more parts available on this DKW Jr.
A little gold mine.
Yeah. My dad's like, at what point do you get rid of it? And I was like, well, I mean, the trunk hinges look good. And the... I'm like, he laughs because he knows he was once there. And he's given up on that. And I'm now entering that world where I'm like, ooh, like... but this is good and that's good, and the rear window's original, and then literally nobody wants any of this stuff. It's like just me and like 2 of you watching this. All right, next day, just ran all of your 1000 SP Roots t-shirt orders out to the post office. Stayed up till like 1 in the morning packing all those orders. Can't thank you guys enough for all the support there. Thanksgiving will disrupt some of that maybe for overseas orders. There's Australia, there's France, there's Italy, New Zealand. Did I say New Zealand? Australia, Germany, the UK, Ireland. Man, thank you guys so much for all of your orders. Seriously, it helps keep the lights on, and I still do all the order fulfillment myself. So I was up all night last night getting everything packaged and shipped out for you guys. We have our parts. We have our other headlight bezels or trim rings. We got everything here. Maybe we'll end up hanging up some stuff here in this garage. You know, this isn't the shop, but I do keep the cars in here, at least the BMW 700 and the Junior for right now. But what I'm most excited about in this episode is getting a close look at a dream car of mine. And you guys have seen this car on the channel before, and I've talked about this car ad nauseum. Indeed, it's the inspiration for what I want to do with this Junior. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go into the other building here next to my shop where my buddy Ross keeps half of his Volkswagen collection. I think he's got like 50 or 60 cars. He's got a Volkswagen GOL 1, the first gen GOL from Brazil, which looks kind of like a bloated Mark 1 Scirocco in a weird way. It's a two-door little hatchback car, but it's a front-wheel drive, front air-cooled engine car. So it essentially uses like a Type 1, Type 3 mixture of a motor in the front, which is what I want to do here because it's all we really have space for under the hood, right? So without going down that rabbit hole, which we've already done, as far as where the firewall placement to the center of the wheel arch is, to the amount of space we have from the center of the wheel arch to the front of the car, basically an air-cooled motor is all I can really fit, unless you do something really small and unique. So the thought is doing a GOL 1 front end swap. Use a Beetle transmission, which I already have, turn it around, flip the gears so it can have 4 gears going the opposite direction, and utilize that Type 3 motor I have over there in the front. Shop foreman doing what the shop foreman does best. All right, so we're actually gonna pull the 1000 SP out, and I've still not figured out why it's running so rough. I've had plug wires off. I just kind of did some quick ignition inspection, had it up in the air, looked up underneath. Doesn't look like anything's falling apart or drastically loose. Nothing seems broke. So anyway, we still have a lot to do with the motor in the 1000 SP. All right, well, that didn't last long. Backed it almost all the way up the hill and the thing quit on me. And it sounded like it was fuel. And then I opened the now hood and realized that my fuel shutoff was shut off. So turned it back on. Let's see if we can reprime it and get this thing started. I forgot I had the fuel shut off. That makes sense. All right, we're facing downhill, so hopefully we don't have to work too hard to get this thing primed up. It is really cool that you can use the factory key to turn the power on. Man, that 1000 SP was so much work. God, it was so much work. That's why I told Richard Rawlings no. I know that that guy wanting that car as bad as he wants it or wanted it was probably the most amount of money I'd get for it from anyone. But I just can't. I'm trying to make a go of it, of like working on your own cars and keep the lights on. I know a lot of my friends said, you should have sold that thing. I know. Financially, I should have, but boy, I worked too hard to just let it go. Try to find money somewhere else, I guess. Well, quite literally, outside the door of my shop is the GOL 1. Like, first car you come to, when you step out of the interior door from my shop into the part of the building where Ross keeps a lot of his cars. So this is it. This is a Brazilian market only Volkswagen, the GOL 1. I've always loved these cars. I want one so bad. And I talked to a few people from Brazil at SEMA, and we're going to try to one day make one happen. I want to buy like a crusty old patinaed one. But check this out. Look at that. An air-cooled 4-cylinder in the front of what looks like a water-cooled car. So this is going to be my model, essentially. We're going to put this thing on the lift. I'm going to take a bunch of measurements, look at what they're using for suspension, steering racks relatively in the same location as the Junior. So probably some Fox Polo style strut assemblies and knuckles or something. Just have to figure out axles and CV joint spline counts and diameters, and let's see if we can get this thing started, and we'll pull it over into the shop and we'll get it up in the air. All right, so I just grabbed my battery that I leave on my open trailer to run my winch. It's got the right post indexing, but it's a little too tall, so we can't shut the hood with the battery in there. So I'm going to put a couple of 2x4s in at the back part of the hood, so the hood will just kind of rest on those blocks. All we got to do is get it around into the shop. So I really, really like the interior of this car, and I really like the steering wheel. What a cool car. How cool is this? Man, I want one so bad. Well, that's a good sign. Don't think I'll dare put the e-brake on. Let's just see here. This is typical Beetle stuff. Pump. Oh, we got a choke. Oh, that lights up too. All right, let's try that. Oh, of course. Ooh, we're going now. Oh, we got you. Come on now. Well, I am already stoked on the idea of doing this swap in the Junior. How cool is this little thing? Seriously, one of the coolest cars Volkswagen ever built. Alright, let's get inside while our good luck is on our side still. Okay, I think we need one. We need one. What a rad little car. So cool. All right, well, let's rack this thing up and we'll get a look underneath. I'm expecting to find Fox style components underneath this thing as far as knuckle, strut assembly. Cut the front wheels off so we can get a better look at what's going on in here. Basically the front subframe, that holds the lower control arms and the transmission mount. Technically, in the Type 1 Volkswagens, you basically just have a transmission mount that the transmission bell housing sits on, and then the motor is just suspended beyond that. So that's still very similar. Exhaust is pretty wild because you've got your front cylinders that come out and go up and meet the back cylinders, and then they go up and over the axles and then down and then connect to each other behind the transmission where the shift linkage is, and then heads out the back. Inner and outer CV joints just like an IRS Beetle, but we've got what looks like Fox out here, right? We've got the knuckle spindle strut assembly as one piece, just like all of you in Europe saw with the B1, B2s, Polos, etc. And what we saw here is the B1, B2, but also the Fox. And the Fox was built in Brazil where this was built. So I would be willing to bet this is very similar to Fox. It's been a long time since I owned mine. It is really weird seeing basically a J-pipe come out of your front cylinders in one of these motors and go that way. I think we got a lot of thinking to do. It might be simpler than it feels right now. We might come up with a plan that works really well, because when you think of it, we don't need a strut assembly this big. If we bag this car, which we're going to, we can make everything so much smaller. We can have something where it's just an airbag, and then off of our control arm here, we can have a mount for a shock to the body, wherever a wheel wouldn't hit it in its steering range of motion. So we can think outside the box. You don't have to direct bolt stuff together. We can have a separate shock, which would allow us to have something smaller in here that just allowed us to steer. The Junior's significantly smaller than this. We still have yet to know if a Type 3 or Type 1 motor with that Beetle transmission will fit well in that engine bay. As far as the rear goes, we're not even worrying about the GOL, but as you can probably imagine, this is very similar to Fox and Mark 1, Mark 2 Golfs and Rabbits. It's just a beam. So essentially we have like a cage right here that bolts into the unibody of the car, and then in that cage mounts the trailing arms of the beam. So the trailing arm heads up to your hub, to your spindle, where your spring and shock are mounted to. So I actually thought about doing something like that in the Junior, maybe using like a Mark 1 rear beam and get it to mount in the frame of the Junior. Well, this has been a pretty cool look at this car. Just being able to drive this thing around the property is really cool, and getting a look at how these cars were put together. It's definitely given me some good ideas. All right, so we're back up here at the Junior, and after spending a little bit of time under the hood of the GOL, I'm realizing just how small this car really is. I'll probably do it off camera, but I wanted to pull the GOL up here so I could get some like tentative measurements right now before we start pulling this thing apart. So what I know will more than likely work is the length of everything, from the axles to the crank pulley to the front of the motor, will fit in the Junior. From the axles in the Junior to the front is actually a shorter distance than where the crank pulley is on this motor. So as long as our height works out, we'll be able to fit that lengthwise in. But the measurement that is a little nerve-wracking right now that might require a lot of fabrication is width. The Type 1 and Type 3 motors, and I measured the one in the GOL and also a couple of my Type 1 motors I have here, from valve cover to valve cover is like 31 inches, 31 to 32 inches. And we don't have that, regardless of the battery box. We don't have that from here to here. And the problem with that is right behind here is a body mount. As you can see, it comes down right there. So if we even can go this route in all the other aspects, we're gonna have to redesign the forwardmost body mounts on the frame. So that's where we're gonna leave off this episode. We got some parts pulled. We got a really cool Brazilian Volkswagen pulled out. One of my favorites, so it was really cool to be around that car for a little bit and kind of compare some measurements to see if the overall idea of doing a GOL 1 inspired swap in a DKW Jr will work. So that's it for this episode, guys. I am loading the 1000 SP up first thing in the morning on the trailer to get to a couple really cool locations to meet up with my buddy Josh Garcia from Revival to shoot it for a couple magazines, which would be really, really cool. Very soon we're gonna pull that thing in the shop, we'll tear it down, and we'll figure out what path we're gonna go down for that car. Thanks for watching, guys. Really appreciate all of your support. Remember to get in on the 1000 SP Roots hoodie live right now through next Sunday, November 30th. We'll see you guys in the next episode.